Hello there, folks. Today, we're going to try and live in Apple's future. Because they have gone on record, I guess, as saying, now I haven't looked at this myself, but Ryan tells me it's what they said, so I believe him, that Apple was confronted over the removal of our good friend, the SD card slot, on the side of the MacBook Pro. Sure, get all this crap out of the way. But pretty much, Apple's response to the lack of the SD card is that it was a cumbersome port, which I disagree with, and that people would use wireless instead. And another friend of mine said, well, Apple clearly hasn't actually used wireless with a camera because it's cumbersome as fuck to do. So, I figure I've never done this before, so it's as good as time as any. I've actually got a camera here. A very nice camera, D7200 with Wi-Fi. So we're going to take this, and I do have a card in there as we can see. Let's see, do we even have a photo on this? No, we don't, because I just put a new card in here. Go ahead, I'm going to take, doesn't matter, we can't even see that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to boost the ISO up, knock down the shutter speed, and we're just going to take a picture of this MacBook, as we can see here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to try and live in Apple's future, and without the use of our glorious SD slot, if we can get this thing back on, which we have here, we're going to go ahead and try and get that photo onto here. And to see how easy it is. Now this is running macOS Sierra, so we are running the most recent version of OS 10, or macOS now. I don't know. I don't get Apple these days. So, we're going to go ahead and bring this up, and we'll be right back as soon as I get logged in. Alright, so I also lowered the tripod a bit, so that way you guys get a more dead-on view of it, and I can actually maneuver around the camera. And, there's Ryan pretty much agreeing with me when I was like, I'm kind of just getting the hell out of this. Because honestly, I'm getting the hell out of the Apple ecosystem after this. I think what they've done is just a step too far. I mean, I'm keeping the MacBook around, obviously. If anything, I'll run Windows on it if I get truly sick of Apple shenanigans. But, pretty much, I'm going to go out of my way to not give Apple any money from this point forward. So, let's go ahead and activate our camera's Wi-Fi here. I can get around the camera here. You can see me there. We're going to go to the menu. And there should be an option for Wi-Fi here somewhere. Now, do know that I have never done this before. I have done it between a phone and the camera, but never between a computer and the camera. So, turn Wi-Fi on. What? Connect to using, wait, menu, network settings, view SSID, okay, pin entry, enter the pin disabled on these, waiting for connection, okay. Well, I don't think macOS supports WPS, but we can certainly try. There's our Nikon. Or it could also just connect at the same time. So far, okay, we're connecting. Could not be joined. Okay. Menu. Network settings. View SSID. Okay. Push button. Wi-Fi. Network settings. The only way to connect to my camera is via WPS. Guess what Mac OS doesn't support? In fact, I'm going to look this up right now. Mac OS WPS support. Yep, and there we are. You will have to manually enter the key. As you can see here, Mac OS does not support WPS, and Nikon's system uses WPS. Cool. So, I can't live in Apple's future with this $1,500 camera, because if I wanted to use the USB port on this camera with my new MacBook, I would have to buy an adapter that may or may not get lost. Compare and contrast with what we just did to, oh, I don't know, I can just, just go like this, get Lightroom up, actually, first. And then we just, wait for that to come up. And then all we have to do is just go like this. And we just go Command-Shift-I. Boom! There's our photo. Right there. See how much easier that is, Apple? Just see, like, if you're not going to support open wireless standards like WPS, which many cameras apparently use for this kind of thing, like, I have no words right now. I can't live in Apple's future. And this camera is not even old. It was released this year, even. Or last year, I can't remember which, but it was very recent. And I can't live in Apple's future, because Mac OS doesn't support WPS, which this camera needs to connect to the computer. Now, it can connect to my phone just fine, but that's not the point. I mean, I can connect it to my phone just fine through Nikon's proprietary app, but I can't connect it to my iPhone any other way. So, I would imagine if you had an iFi card, you could use that. Like, that's what Apple's driving at. But I shouldn't have to buy an iFi card just to get my damn photos off the damn camera. It's bullshit. Like, whereas I can just, come over here, grab the fucking card out of the laptop, just pull it out, put it in the computer, and we're good to go. So that's me trying to live in Apple's little future. But since we failed at that, we're going to have another go with something else, and we'll see that in just a moment. Alright, in this case, we're going to actually keep it within Apple's own ecosystem, just to kind of highlight how ridiculous this all is. Okay, so right now, if you go into an Apple store and you buy an iPhone 7, this is not exactly what it looks like, but you get the point. This is the cable you're going to get with your iPhone. Lightning to USB-A. You can't connect this to your new MacBook without an adapter that doesn't come with the computer, nor does it come with the iPhone. And I have no reason to believe that Apple didn't know this was coming. Like, Apple knew that this machine was coming. Now, obviously, they would have shown their hand a bit early had they shipped a USB-C cable with the iPhone. Okay, I get that. They should have put a USB-A adapter in the box, because even though we're about to attempt to live in Apple's future yet again, there's still the problem of if your iPhone gets screwed up, then you're going to need to connect it physically to your computer to restore it. And guess what you can't do out of the box? Do that with a MacBook, because Apple's still shipping USB-A to Lightning with their new iPhone 7s. So I can walk into an Apple store, and I've already highlighted this multiple times. I can walk into an Apple store and buy two things that won't work with each other. It's ridiculous. It's not like the iPod, the original iPod was Apple doing this right. They shipped the iPod with FireWire support only. So it only supported FireWire, which is the connector Apple was really banking on at the time. They weren't so stupid as to drop support for USB for it, but they were indeed fully in bed with FireWire. And they supported it the right way. So, enough bantering aside, what we're going to try and do here is what so many Apple apologists try to tell me to do. Let's pretend this is an iPhone 7. Or I guess it doesn't matter because the connectors don't change. But I've got my iPhone here, and we're going to want to sync this without any use of wires. And pretty much, this is a best case scenario, because this phone has already been synced with this computer. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire up iTunes here, and we're going to see if we can't figure out a way to get this to work. So we go to Preferences, and Devices, and there's really, you can't do anything. You can't actually do anything unless it's connected. So let's grab our iPhone and see if there's anything we do from that end, because I know I have seen some Wi-Fi sync options. And here we go. iTunes Wi-Fi sync. Sync now. And look at that. You have to connect your phone to Wi-Fi, or to iTunes, with this to set up Wi-Fi sync for the first time. Even though, let's bring it back up here, this is the best case scenario. It knows my computer. And it knows my computer, and still I need to connect the cable physically to the computer to sync my Apple iPhone with my MacBook Pro. And let's assume this is a 2016 Pro here that doesn't have a damn USB port that'll work natively with my iPhone. What I have to do is I have to go to Apple and give them $25 for a Thunderbolt 3, or I guess actually USB-C in this case, to Lightning cable. Or I have to cough up for a USB-A adapter to use Apple's own device with their own computer. This isn't even getting to the fact that I can't use my Lightning earpods, if I had a pair, with my own MacBook. Furthermore, again, it is very ridiculous, and I must highlight this, that Google's own Nexus devices, the Nexus 6P, the Nexus 5X, probably the Pixel, I don't know what's in the Pixel box, but they come with a USB-C to C cable that is more natively compatible with the new MacBooks than Apple's own iPhone. How is this okay? I don't know. I don't get why anybody at Apple thinks this is okay. In fact, I wish Steve Jobs were still around, because he'd probably fire the idiot who thought this was a good idea. And, I mean, it's even more damning when you've got professional photographers with cameras who can't even use them natively with the computer anymore because they have to get an adapter. Because you can't transfer this stuff over Wi-Fi. Like, even if it worked, transferring photos this thing takes, and this is still considered relatively mid-range, it takes forever for Lightroom to pull those off the SD card. And now you're asking me to do it over Wi-Fi, which is way more cumbersome. Like, get real, Apple. Like, I hope... I usually come down on the side of Apple in a lot of respects. This is one time in which I'm just like, I hope they lose a ton of money over this. I hope that that everybody votes with their wallet and just doesn't deal with this. Because I'm not saying that I'm not for USB-C becoming a thing, but this whole transition was just ridiculously botched. And Apple just didn't execute this right. Because, again, I would maybe be a little more sympathetic if they included, say, if you buy an iPhone, if you have an iPhone 7, if you bring in your iPhone 7 when you buy a MacBook, or any kind of iPhone, when you buy a MacBook, you show them your iPhone, they give you a free USB-C to Lightning cable with the purchase of a MacBook. That would be great. Or other way around. If you have a 2016 MacBook and you're buying a iPhone, they should give you the cable for free. You can add it onto your order and you get it for free. As far as I know, Apple isn't doing that. But that would probably make it a bit better. Furthermore, I want to highlight one more thing, and I know this was supposed to be about living in Apple's future, but I'm kind of ranting about the MacBooks again. I do find it kind of funny that Apple's sending a mixed message about the headphone jack. The new MacBooks have a headphone jack. And I'm glad it's there, but Apple's saying that it's an old and dated port. It's probably the same reason they were like trying to ditch the SD card, is it's cumbersome. It's cumbersome. They said that about the iPhone 7's headphone jack, but yet the MacBook somehow, it's not cumbersome at all. You're sending a mixed message here, Apple, and it's really incoherent. And just, really, I don't know where Apple is even going anymore, and it really pains me because I love their hardware. Like, this thing is a damn good laptop for what it is. And I really do quite like it. But, seriously, after all this, at this point, I'm just going to go out of my way to not give Apple any more money. And, in fact, going so far as this phone is actually going bye-bye very soon, for, again, another reason why I think Apple's kind of losing it with their cohesiveness is after the latest iOS update, I can no longer AirDrop from my phone to my Mac. I can no longer do continuity from my phone to my Mac. I can no longer do handoff from my phone to my Mac. My Mac can do it all to my phone, but I can't do it the other way around. And I can no longer trigger hotspot remotely. I can no longer do all this stuff because it got broken. And it's like, Apple, what are you doing anymore? So I'm going to cut this right now because I'm getting a bit ranty, but it's just like, I don't get what Apple is doing anymore. And this is probably the last machine I ever buy from them until they really seriously get a nice course correction. So until next time, I will see you later.